Okay.
Okay, so I've got a question
Sure.
arising out of what you were just saying. So I had 25, and I think you were running with 30 cards.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing in the rules that says that we have to have the same number of
No,
cards.
not at all. That's the minimum number of cards, and you could put up to 50 and 50 if you wanted. I think that's the maximum allowed, and that's just kind of crazy, but it does offer a lot more variety when you have to put a lot more cards in.
Okay, so my next question, with the calling the free council under
Yes.
the wizard rules, I was reading it said that the first player to complete a run through their deck with a one deck game can call the council anytime after that.
Correct.
So if I built a 25 and you had a 50, would you be at a disadvantage in that I had the more options to
Not
call the free council?
necessarily, because I would hopefully be keeping pace with you with the points. So
Okay.
as long as we're not one player not running away with the game, it doesn't matter quite as much who calls it. You get an advantage and you could call it. So there is an advantage to having a smaller deck, but but it's not a big one.
Okay.
And so also with a one deck game, I don't know if you remember me saying this, when you play, if you get 20 points, you don't have to go through your deck. You can call the council when you hit that 20-point mark, even if you haven't gone through your deck once.
Right. Okay.
All right. So I'm going to lay out my first character.
So
Oh, we lay them all out, right? That's how we did it. That's how the
yeah.
rules state.
Uh, so I'm clicking on new party each time,
Right?
and then we reveal them one at a time. Is it?
Well, we reveal them all simultaneously according to the first ruling of the way the draft works. And
Okay.
if we have any that bounce, we put them back in our starting pool and we can't start with them. But they could go into the
Right.
deck. So we're good.
Yep.
Some
So what
sneaky
have you
little
got? You've
hobbits.
got the yeah. I've got my 4 hobbits.
That's right. That's great. That's a very it's a popular starting company.
it's it's thematic.
It is thematic, of course. Yeah, and not only that, you're at the advantage of having a 2 hazard limit when you move
Yeah,
with
that's
4
what I'm hoping
characters.
to
So
benefit
that
from.
works to your advantage. All
So I've
right.
got another question.
Yeah.
So offline, you were saying about that it's good to start with a lot of mine points that up
Yeah.
to close to the 20. But why did you say that? Because I mean, doesn't it reduce the options of bringing characters in if they come into your play hand before the wizard?
It's a little
Oh,
tricky.
but you can still go followers. Yeah.
It is tricky, but you could get followers, and you could also a lot of times, if you put, say, 3 or 4 other characters in the deck, like Aragorn and, oh, I don't know who else, a couple of others,
Yep.
you you don't necessarily hang on to those. It's more of just the chance of which one you draw after your wizard. If you're unlucky
Okay.
enough to draw them all before the wizard, they're going to either clog your hand or you're just going to discard them. But like if
Yep.
I draw one big character before I get my wizard, I'll discard him. If I draw another
Yep.
one before I get my wizard, I might hold on to it for a turn or two.
Okay.
But ideally, once the wizard comes in, that gives you 10 more that you can control, and he brings in that big character with him and keeps him safe.
Yep. Yep. Okay. So an alternative would be to start with less to give yourself more chance of playing that big character.
Yes, you could do that, but ideally, when you're starting the game, you really want to max out to what you can, just because there's an advantage to having a robust company.
Yep. Okay. You got more options for getting marshalling points.
All right. So yeah, I added some other cards to my deck since I was playing it weird with the scenario. So I'm
Yep.
going to draw a hand now,
Um,
and I will keep hand. So I've done exactly what I said. I drew a high mind character, but no wizard yet. So he may not stick around. I may get rid of him and wait to see if I get another high mind character after my wizard.
yep.
All right.
Uh,
So
how did you say again? If you want to move a card to one end of your hand.
if you want to move a card, if you just grab a card and wiggle it a little bit and let it go, it'll move to the right end of your queue of your hand.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yep. So
So
you don't need
that's
to
an
drag
easy
it all the
way.
way. You've just got to wiggle it.
Yeah, just wiggle it and it activates it and it puts it on top of the stack of your hand.
Yep. I thought I might just try having all my hazards at one end and the resources at the other.
So you might have an option now, a button that says keep hand.
Yep. I've
Okay.
kept hand.
And okay, so now I should have done the rolls, but we can just type /R and roll.
I've still got a roll dice, so I'll use that.
Okay. All right, so you start. So I will pass the turn to you.
And I click on start turn.
And away we go.
I still have to click on untap all just to progress into the next phase. Even though they're all
starting off. They're nice and healthy to begin the game.
Yeah. So now I've got the organize button, but I don't click that till I finish organizing.
Right. So if you had other characters coming in, or if you were going to rearrange them or split the party up or anything like that, this is when you would do it. So
yep.
I'm going to go ahead and lay down my starting site. You can do the same. So it goes to my hand first, and then I click on it and put it in the first column.
And then you got to remember to close all that.
Yes, they get in the windows. The windows start overlapping.
So to play my Rivendell, I just select.
So click on the card. Yeah, there you go. Click it once more, and it will flip over and reveal.
Yep. Right. So I've got a major item, so I'll just check my map and decide where I'm going to go to play it. I think, yep, so back into the location deck. Drag the hand, close.
You got it.
Yep, so just check what resources I've got. Yep. Okay, so I finished organising, so I click on Organise.
Yes. Now it puts you in the long event phase, which is sort of a skipped phase normally. Not a lot of cards to play in long event.
Yep.
And then move some hazard.
So I click on movement hazard to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And I reveal my card.
There you go. That's always a great major item site from their first turn.
Why do you say that?
Because it's close, and the auto attack is not that bad. It's one strike.
Okay.
It's just a popular close major item site.
Yep. Okay, so you get 2, I get 1. So
all right. So I'll draw 1, 2. So I have a hazard limit of 2. You've got 4 guys, but they're hobbits, so they count half for company size.
Yep.
So they actually count as 4 characters, because if you had a fellowship says playable on a company during the organization phase if you have 4 characters or more. and they would count. So you could do a fellowship on them, but they still only get 2 hazards played on them. So it's a little bit of a distinction between company size and number of characters. All right, I'm going to play a cave drake. So this is keyed. I could key this to either the wilderness or to the ruins and layers. So I'm going to key it to the ruins and layers because I know that one character has the elven cloak, and that would be an easy way for you to cancel the attack or the strike against him.
Yep. Okay.
So your first chance is to cancel the attack,
which I'm going to do with a concealment. So I've got to tap a scout, right? Mm-hmm. So they're all scouts. I'll just tap Pippin.
All right. And that is all I'm going to play. I'm going to say no hazards. So I have to discard something, so I'm going to discard my high mind character.
Okay.
And you can go to hand size and then go to the sight phase.
Right, so I played a card, so I'm back to 8. So click on sight phase. And so at this point I put Rivendell back
Rivendell drag back to the location deck, and it will just automatically sort back to its proper tab. And then you would enter the site and face the auto attack first.
Oh, I was forgetting that. I was all set to play my item.
Yeah. So it's an undead attack. Now here's the thing. You have a star glass. The bearer of the star glass can tap and cancel an attack by undead. So Sam can cancel that undead attack, and then your other characters, one other character can play a major item.
See, just one question with methodology.
Yes.
So how do I tell you that I'm going to enter the site? I mean,
you would just
we're using voice. I'd tell you, but
type enter.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And then you would type, if you wanted to, you would type 1 at 8, and then you would.
And then I'd just I'd say I'm cancelling it, and then tap the cards.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that actually the bearer taps. So Sam taps, not the star glass.
Okay.
And it says he makes a corruption check, but he is totally fine. He only has 1 corruption point, and he has a +3 to his roll, so there's no way he can fail. So he cancels the auto attack, and now you're free to do anything during the sight phase that you choose to do.
Right. Now, just thinking about my corruption. So I'm going to play Talk of Hughes, which has got 2 corruption points. If I put it on Frodo, he'll have a total of 3, but he's got a +4.
Right. He's still totally fine. So
I'm
go ahead.
Tempted to put it on. I was thinking of putting it on him because he's got that protection of the Elven Cloak. But against that is that I have those 2 cards. I could only use one of them on a given turn. I suppose there's an argument for spreading them out and putting the talk on Merry.
Yeah, you could put it on Merry. Obviously, Frodo and Merry are your only 2 choices since they're the only 2 untapped.
I think I'll put it on Merry. Take a chance.
So he taps, and then you click on the item, right? And the site taps.
Yep.
And you've just scored 2 points. And you've got a great canceller item.
That worked out well. I might just update the points.
Yeah, go ahead. No problem. I'm going to do the same thing over here on my side. I only have 6.
Points.
And I've got 10, 4. I've got 0 free general influence at the moment, but I will fix that when I move Legolas under Elrond's control.
I've got 3 GI free. Yep.
So now you can go to end of turn phase.
Right, so that's the EO2 EOT phase button. So I'll click on that.
And that.
So Yep.
You can now do the
so I do the
discard and draw
first.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, so I've only got 7.
So you can always discard at the end of the turn. You can always discard 1, and then you go to hand size. So if you have more than 8 cards, you won't get to draw any. You would have to discard 1, and then you'd either be at 8 or you'd have to discard more. But when you're at hand size or less, like if you've played an item like you just did, you have the option to draw back up. You can you can discard one of those cards and draw an extra card.
Yep. This is where experience helps. I've got 6 hazards in my hand and only 1 resource and no marshalling point items. So there's probably an argument for getting rid of one of my hazards to try and get a marshalling point.
You could do that, or you could wait, because a handful of hazards at the end of your turn is a lot of options for you to play against me. So if you've got a smattering, let's say you've got some corruption, let's say you've got a creature that is keyed to one type of region and another creature that is keyed to another type, you keep your options open, and then you'll be able to discard and draw at the end of my turn too. So if you play lots of hazards, you likely will be drawing back up cards and maybe will be getting resources. The real advantage to playing lots of cards is to just keep the cards flowing through your hands. You keep drawing cards by playing cards, so it works. When your game is moving, it's usually moving really well when you're playing lots of cards. So okay.
All right.
So now you acknowledge end of turn.
So it's the EOT discard button. So I'll click on that.
So that tells me that I can discard a card and draw one, which I will do. I will discard and draw, and then I say done. And then I
do the EOT
half hazard
hard bait reach.
Yes.
Which is something we're not really using at the moment.
Right. No wizards are in play, so there's no way to half the hazard limit. No need to. All right. So I'm going to start my turn. I untap everyone. They're already untapped, but I hit that button. I'm organizing. I'm going to move Legolas under Elrond's control. So 6 of my 20 points of mind are now being directly controlled, so that frees up 6 from my general influence.
Yep.
I'm going to play a Gates of Mourning. That can be played at any time. It's a permanent event. It could be played on any time during my turn, during the resource player's turn. And I'm going to, you know what? I think we're going to move across the mountains. So let's see. Okay, so before I move, at the end of the organization phase, I have a card that says playable at the end of organization phase. So I have a Ford. Playable only at the end of the organization phase. Tap a ranger to prevent opponent from playing hazard creatures keyed to wilderness against the company. So I only have 1 ranger. So Elro here is going to tap to play that card. And that means you cannot key creatures to wilderness on this turn. I'm done organizing. I go to movement hazard. And I flip my site. And I will go ahead and just give my path in regions like that. And we can each draw 2.
Okay.
And you have a hazard limit, or I have a hazard limit of 3, so you can play up to 3 cards.
Well, now here's an interesting thing. I've drawn Twilight.
So you could Twilight the Gates of Mourning if you choose to.
Would that take effect straight away? And
it takes effect straight away, and Twilight is a very one of a kind card. It does not have to count against the hazard limit. you can play it and still have 3 cards to play against my characters. We could get into a Twilight war. You could play Twilight to make the Gates of Morning go away. And if I had a Twilight in my hand, I could play it to cancel your Twilight. So it can go back and forth. But I don't have anything, and you're welcome to play it if you want to get rid of Gates of Morning. And it will not count against your hazard limit. So certainly worth doing to get the card out of your hand. All right. So I discard Gates of Morning.
And I discard Twilight.
That was a good play because I had some good cards that work with Gates of Morning in my hand.
I just picked that up on the draw, so that was good. Okay, so
you still have 3 you can play, and again, you would not be able to key any creatures to the wilderness that I'm going through, but you could key to the borderland, the Anduin Vales. And since I'm just moving to a haven, there are no creatures that are keyable to haven. So,
did you just say I can't key to wilderness?
You cannot key creatures to wilderness because of the ford that I played at the end of the organization phase. I tapped my ranger to play the ford, and that protects me in wilderness only.
So from even though creatures. The Gates of Morning went, it was there when you played the ford, so it stands up. It doesn't negate the ford as well.
No. Ford did not require. I'll throw it back out on the table. Gates of.
I was just going to say I'd already forgotten about it. Not being a newbie, is there an argument for leaving it out there till?
Sure, and people do that, so I should do that. I should just leave it on the table at least till the end of the turn.
Okay.
I've grown to respect the power of the ford being a cancel keep creatures from keying to wilderness. There are lots of wilderness in the game, and there's lots of creatures that are keyed to it, so it's not a bad card.
All right, I'm going to play.
All right.
In the other thing, which was on the basis of advice that you gave me.
Yes. Well, if you've got corruption in the deck, he's certainly a good candidate for inclusion. So that counts as 1. So he would be a permanent event. So he will stay in play until something makes him discard, or until you tap him and use him to make everybody in the game make a corruption check. So tapping him does count against the hazard limit. So to get his full effect, it takes 2 against the hazard limit. You play him as a permanent event as 1 hazard, and then you tap him to trigger his effect as the 2nd hazard. But you would wait until a good opportunity to do that. Obviously, I don't have much corruption on me. You haven't played any corruption cards, so keep him out there until it's a wise time to trigger.
Okay, so I'm going to play, speaking of corruption, I'm going to play Lure of Expedience.
Excellent.
So
Elrond's the guy you want to go after. He's always
that worked last time.
Now here's the thing. If you had played a Lure of Nature, he would have to make checks going through the wilderness. The ford doesn't protect him from running through wilderness and having other things trigger by wilderness. It just keeps creatures from being played. So there's a distinction there with ford.
All right, and I'll say you've got Borderlands, and I'll have a go with my Slayer.
Excellent. Perfect. That was a great play. So you've got all 3 of your hazards out. You also played a Twilight, so you're down. You'll be drawing some cards back up. But first, I am going to have to fight this thing.
So you can tap to cancel 1, can't you?
So yes. So the Slayer is like the Assassin. He goes after 1 character, but he goes after that character with more than 1 attack. So he comes at a character and attacks them with 1 strike. They have to deal with it. And then he comes at that character again with another attack with 1 strike. The Assassin does the same thing, but the Assassin does it with 3 different attacks against the same character. So you get to pick who the Slayer is going after. I can tap one character to cancel one of the attacks, but I will be having to face at least one of the attacks. And if I cancel one of the attacks, there's no way that I can score the points from the creature.
Yep. So since you're going to a haven, and it's not like you're going to be playing items. I'm thinking to go for the weaker character.
Absolutely, that's a smart thing to do.
Legolas.
So Legolas, okay.
So I could do that by mousing over and pressing the right button. Right arrow.
Correct. Perfect.
Yep.
All right. So Legolas is going to face the attacks. So I hit the face attack button in locale 1. He's going to tap. He has a 5. So he's a 5 versus 11. And I will roll. I need a 6 to tie it, a 7 to beat it. So he tied it. So there's no reason for me to want to face the second attack to try to kill this thing because I can't kill it. I've already tied one and I did not beat it. So what I will do is I will tap Elrond to cancel the second attack. And then I'm done facing it. But you have tapped out my company.
And now I discard the Slayer. And I click on no.
So you click no more hazards.
The on guard is part of the hazard limit?
The on guard is part. Yes, the on guard is part of the hazard limit. So that would have you've played to your hazard limit. So you do no more hazards, and then you draw back up. This is not a time to discard and draw. This is just draw back to hand size at the end of the movement hazard. So you go to 8. I'm at 8. I go into the sight phase. I don't have anything to do. So I go into the end of turn phase. I'm going to discard and draw. And then I'm going to tell you that the end of turn discard is available. You can discard one now and draw one if you like. So this would be the time to maybe discard a hazard. If you've still got some hazards in your hand, if you don't have a lot of good helper cards for your company, like concealments and stuff like that, discard a hazard and draw back up.
Another question. Can I play Gates of Morning now?
You cannot play it yet because you have to wait to play that on your turn. So we're still in the end of my turn. But once it goes into your turn, you could play that at any phase of the turn.
Yep. I was thinking if I could play it now to give me an extra card to draw.
Right.
Yep.
So then you say done.
I did discard a hazard. It worked out well. I picked up a marshalling point card.
Excellent. So go ahead and click done.
Yep.
And then I will end the turn and pass it to you.
Okay. So start turn. Untap all.
Mm-hmm.
And now I do my organisation. So I know where I'm going.
That Torque of Hues is a fantastic card on a company of hobbits because you have the advantage. I can only play 2 hazards against you, and you have 4 guys, and one of them can cancel one of the hazards with the Torque if it's a creature. So it's like having a concealment at all times in your hand, having that Torque of Hues with an untapped character.
Oh, that sounds good.
And he can use that against auto attacks as well. So if I don't end up playing any creatures on you, and you keep Mary untapped, he can use the Torque of Hues to cancel the auto attack, and then let somebody else just skate in and play an item or whatever.
Starting with these 4-week hobbits, I've gone for evasion. What's the word? It's not evasion.
Yes.
Avoidance strategy.
Absolutely. And they rely on good card draw. You do have to keep the hazards moving, and you've got to keep keep drawing the resources. But like I said, once you get the Torque of Hues, you're way ahead of the game. All right, so you've got a site. They would be
organised. So have I got any long events? Check that.
You can play your Gates of Morning now if you like.
Oh yes.
I'm going to discard the Ford that was long from last turn.
Yep.
So Gates of Morning is now in play. I have no Twilights. I didn't have any to protect mine, but I'm glad that you got Gates of Morning back into play because I want it too.
You told me that, but I suppose I've got to hope that I'll get the benefit of the cards I've included.
And like I said, it really works to your advantage to keep drawing cards.
Yeah, okay. All right, so now I go into the movement hazard phase, and I reveal the site card, which is bag end.
Excellent.
It's 2 and 2.
Right. And so you're moving through Cardolan and the Shire. So one wilderness and one free domain. If you want to click on the regions, standard regions on the map.
Yep. So I click on Cardnum, and then I click on the Shire.
Excellent. Exactly. So let me go ahead and draw my 2. 1, 2.
So do we... Oh, am I supposed to mouse over the bag end card so that it brings up what type of site it is?
No, you can leave it. It's fine. I know what it is, and it's easy for me to mouse over it to see what's what.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically, the only thing you really need to do is indicate your path, because you could run through more wilderness if you wanted to get to the Shire. You could go Cardolan back up to Rudour through Arthedain and then the Shire. You can't move through a region more than once. But there's a path here that you could do if you wanted to move through more wilderness. Like if you had Radagast as your wizard and you wanted to draw a card for every wilderness you move through, that's his advantage. So that's the only reason you would need to indicate your site path, because it's open for choices. But the type of site it is standard. The draw is standard. I can read those as I see the card. So I'm going to play the Knickerbreakers. So this again is one that triggers, it counts against their mind instead of their prowess. So this is actually better for your guys. But you can tap the Torque to cancel it, or you can tap Mary with the Torque to cancel this creature and be done with it.
Yes.
But I do have one more hazard to be allowed to play after this, since your hazard limit is 2. And the worst that the Knickerbreakers does is it will tap characters, not wound them.
Yep.
It's the annoying crickets.
Yeah, I think I'll use the Torque. So,
so tap Mary. Tap Mary.
I clicked on the Torque first. So
That's
I'll tap
okay.
it, and then I'll tap Mary.
And I will discard the Knickerbreakers. And this is kind of funny. You're moving to the site that I would not want you to move to. If I play Call of Home, it puts a character back in your hand if you don't make the roll to keep them in play. Now what this does, the Call of Home is the card that looks at how much free general influence you have. The more general influence you have, the safer you are from this card having an effect. So I get to pick a character. I'll pick, let's just pick Mary. I'll pick Mary, and you get to make a roll and add your free general influence, which is 3. You need to get a 10 total. So you need to roll a 7. If you don't, he goes back to your hand, but you'll be able to play him next turn because you're at bag end, which is his home site. So that's convenient. This is like the best time to have a Call of Home played on you when you're moving to the site that you can bring them back in next turn. So let Mary.
Is there any way you can? Sorry, is there any way you can cancel the Call of Home out of interest?
Call of Home is not really cancelable. Basically, this is one of the cards that does punish people for maxing out their mind without having a wizard in or without having controlling other characters. But I'll tell you, the one way to do it is, let me look. There's not a card in this set. There's a card in a later set that says when Gates of Mourning is in play, you can play it, and it reduces the hazard limit against your company by 1. It's called Many Turns and Doublings. It also can cancel certain types of creature attacks. But when Gates of Mourning is out, it could lower your hazard limit. So let's say I played the Knickerbreakers for the first hazard, and I play Call of Home for the second hazard. If you had that Many Turns and Doublings with Gates of Mourning out, you could play it, and it reduces your hazard limit from 2 to 1, which makes that Call of Home an illegal play, and it discards automatically.
I like it. Yeah.
So it's a good that's a good strategy. Again, not a card in the first set, but one that they added that makes a lot of appearances in the game.
Yeah. And you chose Mary because he's carrying the talk.
I just chose Mary just because. Now here's the thing: this card does say any one item held by a character removed in this fashion may automatically be transferred to another character in his company. So he doesn't lose the item. Someone else takes it for him while he runs back home. But the Call of Home is a good card to play against characters that have allies, because you can't transfer an ally. The ally, if the character goes back to your hand, the ally discards. So Call of Home is good to play on characters with allies. Or with multiple items, because they can only transfer 1.
Yep.
So go ahead and roll for Mary. You want a 7. Okay. So here's what to do. Before you move him, click on the torque and click Transfer, and give it to any of your other 3 hobbits by clicking on them. And then drag Mary back to your hand.
I don't have to. It untaps it as I drag it.
There you go. And I will discard Call of Home, and that's it for my hazard limit. So I am done. I say no hazards. I'm back at 8. You have 10, so you will have to discard 2 before you go to the site phase.
And so now, because I've got to the site phase and there's no automatic attack, it's probably an argument again to looking to your turn and keeping my hazards and discarding resources.
Yeah, that's something you just have to kind of feel out. You have to decide, when you're looking at what I'm playing and what hazards you think will be keyable against me, and when you're looking at what you have for resources that you need, you usually just kind of strip it down to the basics. But obviously, I would keep Mary in your hand. I would not discard him, because you'll play him at bag end next turn.
Yep. Yes.
He rejoins the group.
This is where you just only experience can answer these. I think this is something for beginners as hard as what to discard and what to keep.
So here's the thing. So you have the Gates of Mourning out. If you had another Gates of Mourning, I would say discard that. You can't duplicate it, and it's already in play. If you had...
I've got a halfling strength and an escape, which is that combination you were talking about.
That's awesome. Hang on to that. Hang on to that.
Hang on to it for my next movement hazard phase.
Right.
But if I do that, I've really got to discard some hazards.
So this. I have friends that play, and this point in the game is where they always struggle. what do I want? I want to keep everything. I don't want to discard anything. It's like, well, here's the thing. If you're drawing lots of cards, it doesn't matter. Discard and don't look back. You'll keep drawing cards. Don't keep too many helper cards for resources. Don't keep too many marshalling points for resources. Kind of keep a balance of the two, and you should be good, because you need support cards to play items and play factions and things like that.
Okay.
All right.
So
now you can go to site phase.
And I
discard barrow downs. Drag barrow downs to your discard pile.
Oh, I nearly put it in the location deck. That was lucky.
That's okay. If it goes there, we know that it's been used already, and we won't mess with it.
Yep. Okay. So I've got. What am I going to play? Where is it? I've got the Hobbits.
The Hobbits, yes.
So what do I do?
So here's the thing. So the first thing you do is you play the card. So click on the Hobbits, and they'll go onto the table.
Oh, it puts it over there, right?
And then you have an influence check greater than 8, but you get +4 to the roll. Frodo has 1, and Pippin has 1 free direct influence. So they would either of them would have total of +5 to the roll. You would just pick whichever one. It's half a one, half a dozen of one, 6 of the other. It doesn't really matter. If you had a friend or 3 in your hand, that would make it an automatic roll. You wouldn't even need to roll, because it would give you another +3 to an influence.
Okay.
But
can you tap other characters to support the?
Not for a faction, not for an influence attempt. They can tap to support for corruption checks. They help each other out with corruption, but they don't help each other out recruiting armies.
Okay. All right, so I'll go with Frodo.
All right, so tap Frodo.
Tap him. And then I just do so I write, what would I type in? It's
I would type
5 for 8.
+5.
Oh. And then
versus 8.
Okay. Yep. And then do the roll.
And then just give it a roll. Got him. All right, so score that /score and click on the Hobbits.
/score.
They go into your marshalling point pile. Adjust your faction marshalling points. Tap the site. And go to the end of the turn.
Great.
All right, so you can now discard a card and draw 1, or you can just draw, or you could discard a card and draw 2, or you could just draw back 1. Up to you.
Yep, I'm just going to go 1. Yep.
All right, and then acknowledge the end of turn.
Yep.
I'm going to keep what I've got. I'm going to say done.
And then I do the EOT. Half HL.
Right. All right. We're rolling. All right. So I'm going to start my turn. I'm going to untap all. So now here's the thing. I have this card in my hand, the Cock Crows. This is the one that cancels a troll attack, or if Gates of Morning is in play, it forces the discard of 1 hazard permanent event. So there are 2 hazard permanent events that I could target with this. One is Ren the Unclean, because he is in play as a hazard permanent event. The other is the Corruption card on Elrond. I am going to use it to remove the Corruption card on Elrond. So Gates of Morning is in play, so I am forcing the discard of 1 hazard. So I will go over here and click on Lure of Expedience, and then discard the Cock Crows, and you can drag the Lure of Expedience to your discard pile.
Yep.
So that's all during my organization phase. I'm still going to figure out, I'm going to move. Now here's the thing. This is where it gets a little bit tricky, because I'm going to... Actually, I'll keep my guys where they are. I'm going to keep them organized the way they are. I'm going to lay down my destination site. I click Organized. I have no long events, so I click Movement Hazard. I reveal the site, and then I'm going, since I'm using starter movement, I'm moving from the nearest haven to that site. I type /P, and I click on Thranduil's Halls, and it gives you the region types that I'm moving through. So that's the shorthand way to do a starter movement to show the regions. You've got 2 cards you can draw. I can draw 2. And you can key them to either of the border holds, the wilderness, or to the free domain site, which that's where assassins like to attack. If you have an assassin, this would be a time to play it.
Yeah. Just thinking.
So the thing is, the reason for the assassins' popularity is because they play at free domains and border holds, which are the site types that you go to get factions. So most of the time, you're gonna get some playability out of assassins when people go to get their factions.
Yep, okay. Alright, so I'm going to play the traitor, get him down.
Excellent, very good. It's getting scary.
I'm going to, seeing as you didn't seem to like having the lure of expedience on Elrond, I'll put another one there.
Excellent, you're playing well. And you have 1 more hazard you can play?
I could play another lure, but I've got a wariness of the heart, so I think I'll seeing as I've previously seen you roll 3 for Elrond.
Yes, you're going to play a lure.
I might try it again. I might dip in the same wall.
Excellent. So weariness of the heart. So the first use of that card, prowess of a character is modified by -1 until the end of the turn. That's not really a very effective use of that card. What you're using it for, to pick a character and make a corruption check, is a much better use. So Elrond he's got 3 corruption on him. He's got 1 from his Elfstone and 2 from the corruption card you put on him. I am going to tap Elrohir, and he's going to give a +1 to Elrond's corruption check. So now, instead of having to beat a corruption check of 3, he has a corruption check of 2. So a Snake Eyes will blow him up like last time, but otherwise he should be okay. Haha. 1 wink at me. 1 winking eye at me. Alright, so discard the weariness of the heart. That was your 3 hazard limit. So you can click no more hazards and go draw back up to 8.
Yep.
And I have to discard 1. I'm going to discard. I've got a Gates of Morning in hand, and since it's already 1 in play, I'm going to just discard that. I'm going to move Lorien back to my site deck, location deck. We're going to go to the site phase. I'm going to try to bring the Wood Elves in. Legolas gets a bonus against them. He gets +2. So I'm going to tap him. He also gets a +1 for being an elf. That's a card, that's the faction bonus that it gives on the faction card. So he's got +3. And he needs greater than an 8. So he needs a 6. And he gets it. So I score that. And I tap the halls. And I adjust my faction points. And I go to the end of turn. If I had a minor item, Elrond could play it, but he would make a corruption check with that Lure of Expedience. So if anybody got a minor item as a bonus, he would make a corruption check, which I don't like.
So
go ahead.
I was just thinking to myself then, maybe a more experienced player, the thought would have gone through their mind, oh, what's he going to play at St. Jules Halls?
Right.
And he'd at least consider targeting Legolas, perhaps.
Well, he didn't have any corruption on him, so you wouldn't have been able to hit him with anything. You could have
Not this time.
you could have put the corruption card on him, and maybe made him fail his check, but then that would free up Elrond. Elrond could still bring the elves in. So either way, it's again the best card to have played there would have been the assassin. Just as an FYI.
Target Legolas.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Because you'd prefer to leave him untapped. Yep. Okay.
So you can say done, or you can discard and draw.
Oh,
you're welcome to do that. Go ahead. I haven't passed the turn to you.
Let me think. No, I'll stick with that.
Okay.
I click done.
So I will say end of turn and pass the turn to you.
Okay. All right. So start the turn. Untap all.
So now is where Mary can just pop back in.
Yeah, I'll do that. So basically just...
He ran away to the site that you were going to anyway.
Great.
Good.
Now Mary and Pippin are alike in every regard, so I'll just leave the talk on Pippin.
Yep.
And I think I have picked up a marshalling point card. No, I haven't. That's a shame. Well, actually, I didn't think about that. I've got Sting, but I forgot that it's a minor item. I might have done a discard to try and get lucky and get a marshalling point card.
Discard it and draw one. I don't mind. We're just
playing... No, we'll do it properly. No, I've got to learn my lesson. I can still move somewhere and play Sting, can't I?
Yeah, you could.
It won't be a wasted turn.
I'll tell you where you might want to go is in the region of Rudour. There is the Etten Moors.
Standard sites. Is that a relatively...
The Etten Moors it's back in the same region as the Haven. It lets minor items be playable there. It does have a troll auto attack, 1 with 9. So a Dark Quarrels would cancel the attack. The Torque of Hues would cancel the attack. You've got a lot of options, and I only get 2 cards to play on you. So with that in mind, you decide.
So what I'll do... Yep, okay, so I've finished the organised, so I click on organised. And now I'm in the long event phase. I have got a long event.
Play it. I'm gonna play there we go. How about that? A long event.
If I finally get a long event hits the table.
Yes.
Prowess of each character is modified by +2.
Nice. So that will stay out for your turn, and then it will stay out for my turn, and then when it gets back to your next turn long event phase, it will discard.
Okay.
So it stays in play for basically a full turn for you and me.
So you'll get the benefit as well.
I will. So, but that's not a bad card to play if you're doing lots of things like corruption more than creatures. If you're really trying to corrupt me, it doesn't matter what my prowess is.
Yeah, okay. But I'll get the benefit in this trip to Etten Moors.
So the hobbits are actually kind of beefed up now. Instead of 1 prowess, they're all up to 3.
Okay, so I've gone into the movement hazard phase, so I reveal the site, which we know what it is. That's 1 each.
Yeah, and now you'll need to give me the movement or the site path. So pull up your location, go to standard regions, And then you're starting in the Shire, and you'll move through the Shire, and then you could do either Arthedain or Cardolan to get to Rudauer. They both connect to both sites.
And they're both wilderness. So...
And they're both wilderness, yes.
Yep.
So, all right. So I'm going to draw my 1.
I've drawn mine.
I've got...
So you've got double wilderness to key to.
Right, but okay, I'll play this. The Watcher in the Water. So this is a double wilderness. Now here's what to think about with this. Everybody faces 1 strike. So each of the 4 characters would have to face 1 strike of 8 prowess. Frodo could tap the Elven Cloak to cancel his strike because it's keyed to wilderness. Or you could tap Pippin and use the Torque to cancel the creature completely. Or you could try and fight it and score a marshalling point by killing it.
But my guys have all got 1 prowess.
Well, they're up to 3 now. They're up to 3 now with Clear Skies. So you'd need 6s. You'd need 6s to beat it for each of their rolls. So you're...
I tap them all. Is that right? I'd have to tap them all, wouldn't I?
You would have to... Well, here's the thing. You would either tap them or you would face a penalty for facing a strike without tapping. They take a -3 to the roll if they don't tap. So my advice would be to probably cancel this if you have a canceller, and you could use the Torque of Hues on the auto attack at the site. It's really up to you. Or you could say this. You could say, you know what? I'm going to try to score this point because the sting, the minor item, doesn't give any points. So why not score a point this turn and try to destroy it, try to kill the creature? And what I would do is once you start assigning strikes, you cannot cancel the attack. So if you started assigning strikes, let's say Sam or Mary faced theirs first and got wounded, you can't cancel the attack after that. But if somebody got wounded and you knew you weren't going to get the marshalling point, Frodo could stay untapped and use his cloak to hide from it instead, and then Frodo would be untapped.
Okay, to play Sting.
Yep.
All right. Since I've got the Clear Skies out, I'll make use of it. I'll have a go at these.
Yeah, and because you've got the halfling strength,
sure,
you can heal somebody. Hobbits are hard to kill. They're easy to wound, but they're hard to kill because they've all got 9 body. You have to roll a 10 or better on a body check to eliminate them.
Yep. All right, so I click on face attacks.
Right, and you can do these in any order. So I would not do locale 3 first. I would save Frodo for later. What you could do is you could tap Sam to use the Starglass and lower this down, the prowess of this down from an 8 to a 6. Sam has the Starglass. It says tap the bearer of Starglass to cancel to cancel attack by undead, or to modify the prowess of a spider, animal, or wolf attack by -2. This is an animal attack, so it works to your advantage. Even though Sam will be tapped and his prowess will be down 1, the creature will be down 2, and everybody else will have a better chance of beating it as well.
I see. Once the Starglass.
So tap Sam to use the Starglass.
Well, before I can do that, I clicked on face attacks, and it's got me the list of options. So is there a way of cancelling?
Yeah, click done facing. Click the done facing button.
No, I haven't got that.
You don't have one that says... Oh, it's giving you the first choice. All right, just click on. Click
Well, I
on.
can still click on locale 5, can't I? Because on Sam, because he is going to face it.
Click on any one of your characters, any one of the locales. Now go back and do done facing attacks. You should have a done facing attacks. Okay, now we're
So
back. Now we're backed up to where we want to use the star glass. So Sam taps.
Tap the bearer
to cancel an undead or to lower a creature attack that's animals or whatever by 2. So now it's versus 6 is the prowess you have to beat.
So now I go
so
face
now
attacks.
You go face attacks.
I choose. I can start with Sam.
Start with Sam. So he's he's a 1. He's tapped, takes him back down to a 0, but he's got a +2 with the clear sky, so he's back up to a 2 versus a 6. So a 4 will tie it, a 5 will beat it. So he beats his. So now choose other locale.
7.
Yeah.
Tap him as well.
Tap him as well. So he is a 3 versus a 6. He's a 1 prowess plus the 2 from the clear skies. So he needs a 3 to tie or a 4 to beat. He beats his. Nice. Nice. Move on down the line. Mary next.
And he'll be the same. He'll be a
3 versus a 6. He wants a 4. You're getting all these rolls. So now, here's the thing. Frodo, you don't want to cancel his attack because you won't get the creature point. So let Frodo tap and face it. That halfling strength will let somebody untap during the movement or during the sight phase. So you could use that to even get your item later in the turn here. But first of all, let Frodo face his attack.
Oh, hang on. So
locale 3.
I clicked on Frodo first by mistake, so I'm doing it in the wrong order. But
that's okay.
I don't know.
So he's a 3 versus a 6.
Yep. And so /R.
Nice. Now you scored the point. So see, you were going there to get a minor item worth no points, and instead you killed a creature.
That's a bonus.
That is a bonus. So that was 1 hazard, and I'm going to put this Nazgul permanent event into play. This is the one that actually, I probably should have played this first, but I wouldn't have been able to activate it and play the creature because your hazard limit is 2, and it takes 2 to get this into play and then to activate it. So it will stay in play like your Ren the Unclean stays in play until something discards it or we activate it. So you're done facing attacks.
So done facing.
So discard bag end.
Because it's tapped.
Drag it to the discard.
Yeah, I thought I did.
You got to grab it by the edge. Some of them are sometimes they're a little tricky. Okay, so now before you go to sight phase, you draw back up to 8. I also draw back up to 8. And then you can go sight phase. Now here's the thing. You have 1 strike at 9. If you untap somebody using the halfling strength, they'll have to face the attack. An alternative would be to let me pick somebody to face the attack while you're untapped or while you're all tapped out. It's probably gonna be a close roll on whether they get wounded or not. But then you can use your halfling strength to untap another guy and play the item. Does that make sense? So the question here is whether you want to enter the site to try to play the item or not.
Luckily, when I did the drawback, I picked up the cock crows.
Excellent. So that's all you need. Just play that and cancel the auto attack. Nice. Discard that. Yeah, see, handy when you move to a troll auto attack. So that automatically cancels the attack. Now then, in the sight phase, you can do anything you want. So you would play the Halfling Strength to untap whoever you're going to give Sting to.
Well, again, then, so it comes back to if I give it to
Frodo's got a lot of corruption bonus, so he's not bad to give extra stuff to.
And I don't, and he's the one that's -2 if eliminated, so I think I'll give it to him.
Right. And besides, it's his sword. Bilbo gave it to him. Bilbo gave it to him. So you untap him with Halfling Strength. And then discard Halfling Strength.
Where's it got? Oh, there it is over there. Yep. Okay.
And then tap Frodo again.
Click on Sting.
And it will give it to Frodo. And tap him.
And then tap.
And tap the site. Excellent. And look at that. You're cycling through cards like crazy. That's exactly what you want to be doing. So you've got 5 cards. You can discard one of these and draw 4, or you can draw 3 and keep the 5 you've got.
I'll draw 3.
And then end of turn. Acknowledge end of turn discard.
Yep.
Okay. I have a chance to discard and draw. I'm going to keep what I have in my hand, so I'm just going to say done, and then you can go to end of turn.
Right.
All right. So start turn. I untap everyone.
Should we be? Oh, it automatically saves, doesn't it? Yep.
It does. Yeah, we've got it set. That's one of the settings that you can put in the game turn is to have it automatically save at the end of each turn, and that's usually set to default, which is nice because if something happens, if the game gets lost or it screws up or you disconnect or something, it saves from just the last turn, so it's easy to pick back up. All right, so I am untapped. Elrond is going to get rid of the Lure of Expedience, or he's going to try anyway. So he's going to tap, and he needs greater than a 5. And he does not get it. So he's wasted his turn tapping to try to remove the Lure of Expedience. That's the thing with corruption cards. If you don't pay attention to them, they can build up quick. So if you have another card, now he can't get another Lure of Expedience on him, but he could get other corruption cards on him, like a Lure of Nature or a Lure of the Senses. One corruption card is allowed to be played on a character per turn. If I don't get it off on a turn, he's the guy to target with the next corruption card.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and find out where I'm going to move to here. All right. I'm organized.
Cat just jumped up. He's interested.
All right. I have no long events. I'm going to movement hazard phase. I reveal my card. So this is a...
Oh, hang on.
Go ahead.
The long event phase. Does my clear skies...
It stays in for my turn. It will go away at your next long event phase.
Yep.
So something to keep in mind while I've got my characters out is that your prowess booster is boosting me too. So I'm going from the Woodland Realm to the Heart of Mirkwood. So it's 1 Borderland and 1 Wilderness. The site is a Shadow Hold with an Orc auto attack. You can draw 2. I can draw 2, and the hazard limit is 3.
Okay. Give me a moment.
Sure.
Well, the first thing I'll do is
Excellent. That is exactly what you want to do. Now, he will have to make a corruption check at the end of their movement for every wilderness he moves through. So he's moved through 1. He has 5 corruption on him now, which is terrible. If he rolls a 5 or less, he's out of the company. He's either discarded if I roll a 5 or a 4, or if I roll lower than that, he's eliminated. And if Elrond is eliminated, I lose points, just like you lose points if Frodo is eliminated.
Okay, so my next hazard
is to tap Ren. Oh, even better. Now you want to tap Ren for your last hazard. He will make everybody make a corruption check, and what will double on Elrond, I will double the Elf Stone, which gives 1, but that will turn it into a 2. So he'll have 2 from that, 2 from the expedience, and 2 from the nature. So he'll have 6 corruption on him. He'll have to make a check for Ren, and then he'll have to make a check at the end of the movement hazard for the wilderness he moved through. So nasty.
Yeah. The only slight option I've got is I have got a corpse candle.
Uh-huh.
So is there an argument
for use Ren
and save Ren?
Use Ren now. With the balance of things, this is really when you want to just hit him.
When tapped. So what will happen after it taps? Is it still
discards? It becomes after it taps, it becomes a short event that forces everyone to make a corruption check.
Yeah. Okay.
So it says when tapped, Ren the Unclean becomes a short event. Each character in play must make a corruption check.
Yep. So I just click on him
and then discard him, drag him to your discard, and I have to make checks. So first of all, Legolas has no corruption. Elrohir has 2 corruption.
Because it's a doubling of the...
Because it's a doubling of the dagger. Now, Elrond has a corruption check of 6. I'm going to tap Legolas to support that. So he's going to give a +1. So he's got a corruption check of 5. He has to roll a 6 or better. Haha. So he's safe for the first one. Now, your guys would also need to make checks, but because they're hobbits, they're all fine except for Pippin. Pippin has the Torque, which gives 2 corruption, but the balance of things doubles it to 4. He has a +2 to his roll, so he needs to beat, as long as he does not roll a snake eyes, he's fine. But let me finish. I will make all of mine, or I did make all of mine. Okay, go ahead and let him make his check at 2.
I'll just mouse over him with the right arrow to say it's Pippin. So it's a
CC of 2.
CC. I'll get in the habit of typing that.
And he'll, as long as he rolls a 3 or better, yeah, there you go. He's fine. All right, so now I have another corruption check from the Lure of Nature. So I moved through 1 wilderness. So I have a corruption check of 6. I'm going to tap Elrohir to give +1. So it's a corruption check of 5. Come on, Elrond. Don't run away. Haha. Oh, don't believe me. You've got me. You got me up against the wall with that.
I've got
2 corruption check. You got me all tapped out. So I've got to go to hand size. So that's the end of the movement hazard phase. I'm going to discard back down to 8. I'm going to discard the Thranduil's Hall since the site is tapped. I'm going to go to the site phase, but I'm not going to do anything because I'm all tapped out. I'm going to the end of turn. And not only that, if I were to get an item at this site, which is why I went there, Elrond would have to make another corruption check because of the Lure of Expedience. Every time somebody gets an item, he makes a corruption check. So I do not want to have to get an item and make another corruption check. So you did not blow me up, but you certainly stalled me out. So the balance of things is another long event. So that will stay in play for your turn as well. And it will go away at the beginning of my long event phase. So leave it out there. I go to end of turn discard. So you can discard and draw if you want. Or you can just say done.
Well, I've got no marshalling point cards, so I will. And I think Gates of Morning is out, so Twilight's a good one to get rid of at this stage.
Right. We both...
your Twilight.
We're but both I know you're playing. We're both playing the Gates, so it's not gonna. No one's gonna make it go away. I don't think.
Yep. So I'll discard my Twilight and draw.
And then say done.
Done.
And then I pass the turn to you. So you got me by 1 point right now. So we were kind of trading back and forth, but that was a good. That was definitely a good stall tactic for me to hit me with.
Yep. Okay.
And if he had failed his corruption check, it would have gotten even worse because the traitor would have meant he was going to go beat up on another one of my characters before he ran away.
I was wondering. Yeah, I was noticing the traitor.
That's a really good combination. What you had there is great.
They're coming out in a good order. The only problem is at the moment I've got a marshalling point, so I've got to try and guess and hope that I pick something up on the way.
Right.
So I should pick a site where I pick up more cards rather than less, shouldn't I?
Yes. So here's the thing. So this is where a little bit of thought comes in, and you decide, what marshalling point cards do I have in my deck? Do I have Gollum in there? Do I move to the Goblin Gate and maybe draw him? Do I move to a site that plays items and I have multiple items that could be played so I can draw any one of them? Or...
I know what I've got. I've got Tom, so I could go to the Old Forest and hope.
You could go to the Old Forest. Now that is a draw of 1, I think. Let me look.
I've also got a major item, but I've done Barrow Down, so I suppose I could go to Ruin Signal.
Ruin Signal Tower is an option, absolutely.
Maybe that's a bigger pickup with it being a Ruins and Lair.
So the Ruin Signal Tower will let you draw 2 cards. So that's actually a little bit better of an option if you're trying to draw something. It will mean you're moving through 3 wilderness. So you'll be moving through the Rudauer site you're starting in, plus Cardolan and Enidwaith. But certainly an option. And if you've got more than 1 major item in the deck, that's not a bad place to go. Now, the only drawback, and I think you just said this, is that it has a spider auto attack. And if I'm playing creatures that, like the Dwar of Wa permanent event Nazgul I have out, if I tap it, it gives +1 prowess to wolf, spider, and animal attacks until the end of the turn. But remember, you have the torque and can cancel the auto attack of the site, as long as you don't have creatures you have to deal with before you get there.
Yeah. And the Clear Skies is going to come off before it moves.
Clear Skies will go away, right. So you're probably looking at either playing another Clear Skies if you've got one, or protecting your guys with some cancelers.
I have got one.
So discard the one from the table. Actually, hold on for now. Hold on for now, because you're not in long event phase, right?
I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to go for the Ruined
Signal Tower.
What's it called?
The Ruined Signal Tower.
So I drag that to hand. Close.
Locale 3.
Yep. I just check whether I've got any resources that I can play it during the organisation phase. Nope.
Yeah, so your guys are in good shape.
Click on organised.
Okay, so now discard the clear skies and play another one.
They're really, in general, they're coming out pretty well.
You're getting very good. You're getting very good draw.
Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing.
Drag it back to your hand.
Okay, that's good.
There you go.
Okay, so
these guys fear nothing. They're happy.
Yeah.
All right. So movement hazard phase.
I revealed that. So it's 2 each.
And you'll need to give me the sight path.
Oh, I keep forgetting that. Yep. Keep telling me.
That's okay.
So I go into standard regions. I'm at Ruda, Cardnum, Enith.
There you go. All right, so I'll draw my 2. Again, I've only got 2 cards I'm allowed to play on you, so...
And can you believe it? I picked up a minor item.
Oh.
Does it allow minor? Oh, it doesn't allow minor, so it's not all bad.
That's all right. I'm gonna put a corruption card on Pippin. Hobbits are immune to a lot of corruption cards, but the Lure of the Senses can be played on anybody. So that's what makes it a useful corruption card. It doesn't trigger very often, but it's good to get on somebody if you're trying to build up corruption points. So that is all I have. I'm going to say no more hazards. And I'm going to discard down to 8. And you can go to hand size.
I'm actually not going to need these resources at this stage. I'll discard that one. So I'm back to 8, and so now I go into the sight phase.
So here's the thing. The auto attack is spiders 2 with 8. Now your guys are tough with the clear skies out. You could face the attack, or you could let Pippin use the Torque of Hues and cancel it. But the Torque of Hues says that when you tap it to cancel an attack, the bearer makes a corruption check. So he's got that extra corruption on him. So he has 4, but he has a +2. So he would, if he had a corruption check, he would need to beat a 2, or somebody would need to tap to support him and let him automatically pass his corruption check. So what I would do is I would use the Torque. I would tap Pippin in the Torque.
I'm just thinking. Oh, I have got an escape.
You what?
I have got an escape.
Hang on to that. That's a good card to use if you need it later.
And a concealment.
Oh, okay. Totally up to you. I'm playing your hand for you, and I don't need to be doing that.
Yeah, but I'm not going to get an extra card in through playing it, so I could save it. Say, saying, go back to what you were saying, so I could.
So what I was saying was let Pippin cancel the auto attack with the Torque of Hues, and then tap another character to make his corruption check automatic. So that's 2 tapped characters, Pippin and somebody else, and then you still have 2 left to play items at the site.
Yep. Okay, so tap the Torque
and Pippin, and then he has a corruption check, and you tap somebody to give him a +1 to his corruption check. So there, Sam makes him automatic on his corruption check. And then Frodo or Merry can play a major or minor item.
Okay. So dagger.
These guys want to fight. They're good.
I've just thought of one thing. Mm-hmm. This means now I've used the ruined...
You have used the ruined signal tower, so it will tap.
Yeah. But anyway...
So discard. Actually, go ahead and discard the site underneath it. Drag that to your discard pile. And now, at the end of the turn, acknowledge end of turn. And then you can discard and draw, or you can just draw one.
Well, they're all pretty handy. I think I will just draw one.
Your game is playing well. You're moving through your deck well. Maybe you've gotten a marshalling point card to play next turn, or maybe you've got hazards to hit me with before then. So you're in good shape. Yep. All right, I'm gonna say done. I'm not playing, or I don't discard and draw, and then you can say, there we go.
Yeah.
All right. So start the turn. Untap. Elrond is going to tap to try to remove the lure of expedience. So he needs greater than a 5. Yay. So the lure of expedience is gone.
Okay, into the discard pile.
So he still has that other nasty corruption card on him that makes him check for every wilderness. I'm still thinking what I want to do here. I'm organized. We're going to stay at this site. So now that it's a long event phase, the balance of things will discard. So that stayed out for my turn and your turn, and now that it's my turn again and back to my long event phase, it goes away.
Okay.
And movement hazard phase, we're not moving. So neither one of us draw. You can play Keyed to the Site, which is a shadow hold, or you can play more corruption cards, or anything else that you've got. But basically, creatures will only be keyable to the site at this point because I'm not moving anywhere from the site. I'm staying there.
Okay, let me think for a sec.
Sure.
Okay, so I'll hit you.
Oh my goodness. He's determined to leave this game. I'll tell you what, that's enough to keep me from playing an item this turn. I don't want to chance it.
Okay, I'm gonna play wearing the card again. I'm really getting a good run of cards.
You really are. Okay, so he's got he doesn't have 6 this time. This time he's only got 5 because the balance of things went away and the elf stone does not double. But he's got a check at 5. Since I have decided that I'm not playing an item because I don't want him to trigger the lure of expedience, I am just going to go ahead and tap to give him +1 and +1. So he has a corruption check of 3, which he can still fail. All right, and I'll just roll it.
Okay, so that's 2 hazards. So that discards the wariness of the heart.
Uh-huh.
What else have I got here?
And I'm tapped out, so if you've got creatures, you can pick who they go after.
I've got a corpse candle.
Even better. So, okay, so that's keyed to the site, keyed to the shadow hold. But before I have to face it, everybody makes a check. And again, he now has 5 and no defense. No one can support him. So he's going to have to make his corruption check of 5. And this is where he's going to blow up. Boom.
Ooh.
All right. So what happens is he rolled equal to or one less than his corruption point total. So that means he's not eliminated, he only discards. But before he discards, he did fail his check. The traitor is triggered. So what that means is the character, when the next character fails a corruption check, he becomes a traitor, and an attack is immediately made against a character in the traitor's company. The character to be attacked is chosen by the player who does not control the traitor's company. So you get to pick who Elrond attacks before he runs away. And the prowess of his attack is equal to the prowess of the traitor plus 10. So Elrond is a 7 plus 10 is a 17 prowess attack on one of my other guys. I told you, it's brutal.
Well...
So he can go after either Legolas or Elrohir.
I'm thinking Elrohir for two reasons. One, he's got the minor item.
Yeah.
I know that would transfer when it's someone else.
He can
but
transfer...
more because he's a ranger, to get rid of your ranger skill.
Exactly. Very smart. Smart choice. So Elrond is a 17. So I'm going to do face attacks. He is a 5 versus 17. He needs a 12 to tie it. Does not. So he is wounded. And now here's the other thing about Traitor. You get a body check on him, but you get to modify the roll by +1 because my guy wasn't expecting to be stabbed in the back by another guy in his company. That's the theme there for Traitor. So, body check of 8, but you get +1 to the roll. If you roll an 8, he's dead. Elrohir is dead.
Fingers crossed.
Ooh, I told you. Okay, so here's the thing. So Elrohir, Elrond, first of all, Elrond runs away and he takes his item with him, and your corruption cards will just go to your discard pile when I drag Elrond to my discard pile. So he's gone. Okay. Legolas is there in his place. Elrohir is dead. And before I eliminate him, I can transfer his one item to a non-wounded character. So I'm going to transfer that. I'm done facing, and I type...
You're not done facing.
Oh, no. I've still got the corpse candle. Yeah. I've still got to remove Elrohir from the game, though. Sorry. So Elrohir is gone.
FG, right.
And now, one strike at 7. Legolas is a 5. He's tapped. He's down to a 4, but he's back up to a 5 with the dagger. And he's up to 2 more with the clear skies. So he automatically beats his roll against the corpse candle, but it was more than effective. The traitor discards because it's a trigger one time when a corruption card, when somebody fails a corruption check, the traitor triggers and then it goes away. So I'm going to score the corpse candle. And you can discard the traitor, and you have severely limited my options.
You scored the corpse candle.
I scored the corpse candle. I got 1 point out of that, but I lost 4 more.
Wow.
I lost Elrond for 3. I lost Elrohir for 1. And at least Elrond was not eliminated. Elrohir is eliminated. Elrond could conceivably come back into the game if I draw him after I reshuffle my deck.
Okay.
But I am tapped. There is nothing for me to do at the site because I am tapped. So I am just going to go to the site phase. Oh, you get to draw back up to your 8. And then I move to sight phase, and I immediately move to the end of turn phase because we are not entering. I can tell you to discard. I'm going to discard and draw. I had an Elrond only card. No point in holding on to that. And you can discard and draw if you want, or you can keep your hands and say done.
You've acknowledged it. Yep, okay, so I'm going to discard because I've got a Gates of Morning.
Yeah.
And draw back up to 8. And done.
And then I pass the turn to you. Oh, and I need to adjust my character points. So Legolas and my faction and my kill. That's all I've got. This is why they made the creature minimum, because they realized after people started playing this game that corruption, when it is unhampered by needing to have other creatures in the deck, is very effective.
I must admit, when I've tried to play the solo, and I've played I think one of the first 2 challenge decks has got corruption, and I didn't enjoy it. I just found these corruption cards are constantly landing on my guys. I couldn't do anything. I was always tapping in the organisation to try and remove them. So I don't enjoy facing it.
You see what it did to my company. Well played. Well played.
All right, start turn. So untap all. And I have got a marshalling point card now. Tom's turned up, so I'll get the old.
Good old Tom. Now keep in mind, his movement is restricted. He can only move through the 4 regions in that area: the Arthedain, Rhudaur, Shire, and Cardolan. He can go back to the Haven, to the Rivendell, but he can't run all over the map. So if you're going to get him, keep in mind that you'll be restricted with whoever has him for their movement.
Okay. So I'll just check that I've got the organisation phase cards that I want to play. Nope. So I go in. So I'm. Oh, hang on. Now, what about this Lure of Senses?
Lure of the Senses, exactly. So now it will trigger when you are at a haven. But otherwise, you can just knock it off by tapping and rolling greater than a 6 in the organization phase. So Pippin can try and get rid of it now. What you could do, you could tap him and get rid of it, and then you could give the Torque of Hughes to someone else who could use it that turn, since Pippin is tapped.
I was just going to ask that, He won't be able to use it this turn, will he?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll tap Pippin. And
you need greater than a 6.
So do I just type greater than 6?
You can just roll it. I know what you're rolling for.
Everything's working.
That's good though. I like that you're seeing success.
Yeah. Yes, I'm sure there'll be plenty of sad times ahead. So the person receiving the card has to do a corruption check.
No, the person giving the item away has to make a corruption check.
He's the one that's upset about losing it.
He's fine though, because he has a +2 to his roll, and it only gives 2 corruption, so that negates the corruption. And the worst he could do would be to roll a 2, which is 2 better than he needs. So just go ahead and transfer. There you go.
Right, so now I'm organised.
So now long events, the clear skies will go away.
Into the discard, and I haven't got need to replace it, so I go into the movement hazard phase. Reveal Old Forest, 1 each.
Yeah. And you're moving through 2 wilderness, Enedwaith and Cardolan.
What about that again? It's going to be my Achilles heel.
Okay. I will draw my one card. I'll play the Mouth of Sauron. So this is a short event. He can be played as, he's like the Nazgul. He can be played as either a creature or an event. Instead of a permanent event, he's a short event, and he lets me bring any hazard card from my discard pile to your hand. He's a staple in most decks. He lets you get any hazard from your discard to your hand.
This is Call of Home, cycling back Call of Home, is it?
Well, I'm gonna cycle back a different card, I think.
Okay.
All right, let's just do this. So he gets a hazard back to my hand, which you see in the dialogue box, in the text box.
Yep. Yep.
I discard the mouth, so that's one hazard. And then here's the other hazard. So this is what I drew back, and he's keyed to the two. He's keyed to the double wilderness. Now I get to pick who it goes after. So I would not pick Frodo because you'd be able to cancel it on him. You first, before I pick characters, you get a chance to cancel this attack. So you could use the torque, or you could use a concealment, or you could escape it. You have lots of options.
Let me just check the cards. So if I use escape, I have to do the wound.
You have to wound somebody, but they don't make a body check. Yeah, they just, somebody takes one for the team.
But then at the moment I haven't got a halfling strength to fix that with, so I'd have to go back to Haven to fix the wound. So I probably shouldn't do that.
I would hold on to that as a last resort, and I would use the Torque of Fuse, because this is my hazard limit. Nothing more is coming at you, and there's no auto attack at the Old Forest.
Just before I resolve that, I just suddenly realised I've got the cock crows. Can I use that to get rid of your Dwar?
Yes, you can. Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
So Gates of Morning is in play.
Should have done that earlier.
Oh, you can do that at any time. You can respond to a creature with that if you want. So the creature is in the chain of effects. So he is played, and as a response to that, you could play the cock crows, and Dwar would go away. He's not doing anything for this particular creature, but you're welcome to play that as a response.
Okay,
as a response.
As part of the response.
Okay, so Dwar goes away.
I discard the cock crows.
You can discard the cock crows, and now you can cancel the attack as well.
Yep, I'll go concealment.
Perfect. Sometimes it's better when you've got the Torque of Hughes. It's always worth considering to cancel with the Torque, but when you're playing concealments, you're cycling through your deck, and so you're getting more cards, and that's what you really want to do. So well played.
Especially here where I've got the jump on you with the MPs, so I'm trying to get those last 14 out and call the council.
Someone needs to tap to play. A scout needs to tap to play the concealment.
Yep.
But they're all scouts. All the hobbits are scouts.
That doesn't. Really,
so whoever you don't want to get Tom, you can tap somebody. But that's it for movement. I mean, that's it for my hazard phase. So I say no more hazards.
It doesn't really matter. I'll just tap.
There you go.
Right. So I draw back up to 8.
Draw back up to 8. Discard the Ruined Signal Tower. And go to sight phase.
So what have we got?
So no auto attack.
Yep. So I click on Tom. Choose a. It's saying choose a character to carry him, but I've got to do the roll.
No, you don't. There's allies come in
it's an ally.
automatically.
I'm thinking of faction. Yeah.
Right. And the mind number on the ally in the head on the left side of the card, that is not needed. You don't need to control him with direct influence. That's just for defending against an opponent trying to influence him away. So Frodo taps. Tap the site.
And then I go into end of turn phase.
Right. Score your ally points.
Scale, I score that. Yep.
3. He's big. Tap Frodo for playing him.
Did I put it in the wrong place? The Watcher in the water. That's a kill, isn't it? Not a miscellaneous.
No, that's a kill. Yeah. So change miscellaneous to 0 and change kill to 1. There you go.
Yeah. What's that? I've got to tap Frodo.
Yeah, to get Tom. He has to tap to play him.
Yep. And that's the end of the turn.
Done. So you can go end of turn.
So end of turn.
You need to draw back up. You need to go back to hand. There you go.
Now I do end of turn discard, which says you go and do yours, and then I finish off.
Mm-hmm.
If nothing else, so then I do EO2 half L.
So your game is clicking.
Yeah, this one's going really well. It's an eye opener, like you say. This just having the 2 hazard limit with the 4 characters.
There are drawbacks to playing with 4 hobbits. Like you saw, they're a little bit more vulnerable to the call of home, and then once they go back to your hand, it's really annoying because they have to come in at bag end. But
yeah,
you successfully navigated that the first time I played it because you were going to bag end anyway.
So if I'd played the Hobbit faction, I wouldn't have that option, would I? That would stop me bringing Hobbits back in.
Exactly. So bag end is in your discard pile now. So you're looking to get your wizard out at some point and to put some of these guys under his control. All right. So I untap. I am going to stay here at this site. I know that's crazy because he's already got an item on him. But I'm going to go ahead and say organized and say movement hazard phase and say not moving. So again, neither one of us draw anything. You can key to the site or you can play corruption. You have 2 hazards that you can play because it's a minimum of 2.
So it's just to a Shadowland.
Mm-hmm. Just a shadow hold, just the site type.
Yep. All right. Well, I've got a corpse candle, so I think I'll play it just in terms of trying to
now, before you
moving.
Before you do, here's the thing. He has 1 corruption point on him, so he can't fail a corruption check. He has a prowess of 6 with the dagger.
Fail to get the kill,
if he does not tap, he takes a -3 to his prowess. So he would be down to a 3, and he would need to roll what the corpse candle is a 7 prowess creature. So he would just need to roll a 4 to tie it. But it's worth trying if you want. I'm not telling you not to do it, but it also helps you cycle cards.
You could even tap, couldn't you?
I could tap and I could face it, but again, that would keep me from doing whatever I want to do with the site because he's going to be tapped. So totally your choice here. But it does offer me the possibility of getting a kill point.
Yeah. So you're on 6 and I'm on 13. For the sake of just getting 1 card, okay, so I won't bother, so I'll go no hazards.
Okay. So we're going to go straight into the site phase. He has
just one. Just one question. So I could have put him on guard.
Yes, you could. And what would happen? Well, let me look. Yes, because it's keyable to the site, and the site has an auto attack. Creatures only trigger as on guard cards if there's an auto attack at the site. So, like if I had a creature, let's say I had an assassin when you went to the old forest, if I played it on guard, there is no automatic attack to trigger another creature on guard.
Yep.
So yes, you could put it on guard here, and if I entered, you would have the choice of revealing it or not.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, next time I think I'd do that because there's no reason not to.
Right. Well, with the exception that I could kill it and get a point. That's the only.
Oh yeah.
That's the only drawback to your playing that creature is me possibly killing it.
If I put it on guard and then you face the automatic attack, do I have to play it, or can I choose not to play it?
You're allowed to choose not to play it.
Yep.
What happens is the exact sequence is I declare that I'm entering the site and facing the auto attack. And when I do that, you have to choose to reveal a creature on guard or not. There are other cards that can be revealed on guard, and they don't have to be revealed immediately. But creatures have to be revealed immediately when I'm saying that I'm facing the auto attack.
Okay. I can't wait to see how you go against the auto attack.
Correct.
Okay. So it's just I'd still having to make that decision that I was making in the actual movement phase. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Thanks.
So what I'll do is I will enter. He has orcs attack 3 at 5. Since he's the only character, there can only be one strike assigned. So the other 2 strikes modify the prowess. So instead of 3 at 5, it's 1 at 7. Legolas gets a bonus from his dagger. So he's up to a 6. I'm going to not tap him, which would take him down to a 3. But I'm going to play a risky blow since he is a warrior, which takes him back up to a 6 without tapping.
Yep.
So he is a 6 versus 7. So it's auto. And now he's going to tap and get more corruption on him. So he's getting a second weapon. You can only use one weapon. You can carry as many as you want, but you can only use one weapon at a time. So if he's facing an attack, he has to choose whether he's using the dagger or the sword. The sword is better. So there would be no reason not to say getting +2 from the sword instead of +1 from the dagger. But more importantly, at least it scores me 2 points here to try to come back from this major setback. So end of turn, I'm just going to draw up, and I'm going to acknowledge end of turn discard. So you can discard and draw if you want, or you can keep your hand and say done.
I've got one of the gates of mourning, so I'll discard that. Draw back to 8. And done.
And there you go. I still have not drawn my wizard. You've got 11 cards left. I've got 27 cards left. You've been moving your cards a lot better. Yeah. And that usually is an indication of a good game.
Okay. So untap all.
So remember Tom's moving restrictions.
Yep.
Because you definitely don't want to discard him. He's key to this game. He's got 3 ally points. Now here's the other thing. When you play the full game, not just the starter rules, there are each of the marshalling point sources, characters, allies, items, and factions. If you have points in one of those categories that I don't, your points double for that category. So right now, Tom is really worth 6 points to you. Because I have no allies. He will double from 3 to 6 at the end of the game.
Yep. If he survives,
he'll survive. He's tough. What you don't want to have happen is Frodo to get Call of Home, or Frodo to somehow otherwise be removed, that Tom goes away. Because Tom is a beast. He's a 12 prowess, 11 body. He's almost impossible to kill.
Okay. I've forgotten what the rule is about revealing your wizard.
So
I've got Radagast.
So here's the rule. You can bring your wizard into play. Characters are allowed to be brought into play at their home site or at any haven. Wizards are allowed to be brought in at their home site or at Rivendell only. They can't come in at the other havens. Radagast's home site is all the way over on the other side of the map. So you to your advantage, you would bring Radagast in at Rivendell and maybe move your hobbits to Rivendell so that he can start controlling some of those characters and protect you from any call of home.
Yep, okay.
Or what you could do is you could reveal him at Rivendell and you could move both companies, the Hobbit Company and the Wizard, to the same site and then organize them better the next turn.
Yep. And an advantage in that would be there'd be a bit more cycling.
Correct.
Because I'd have two.
You'll be drawing cards for everybody moving, right? And Radagast also, remember, draws a card, or he allows you to draw a card for every wilderness he moves through.
Yep.
So he is a card drawing machine.
All right, so I'll get the site card to him at Rivendell.
Right, so he comes in at Rivendell. And then you decide if you want to move the hobbits back to Rivendell or you want to join them up at the same site that's not Rivendell.
I haven't got any marshalling point cards.
So if that's the case, I would move the hobbits back to Rivendell. I would get another Rivendell. Yeah, what's that?
It's safer.
Oh, yeah, yes. And then from Rivendell, you can pretty much move to any site when you draw a marshalling point card to play.
Yep. In the move, yep.
But
right,
so really, the best thing about moving to Rivendell is it joins the companies. It's safe for Tom Bombadil to move there, and you'll be ready for your next turn.
Okay, just check for organisation cards. Nope. So I'm organised.
Mm-hmm.
There's no corruption to try and remove. So into long event, and lo and behold, my third clear skies
there you go.
So that's even going to help me getting safely back to Rivendell.
Correct.
So now
so you'll have two movement hazard phases. You'll have one for each company, and you choose which one to do first based on who's more vulnerable. Radagast is safe sitting at a haven. So what I would do is I would move the hobbits first and let them face anything, because you don't want me drawing extra cards or playing cards, setup cards on Radagast that will hurt the hobbits.
Okay. And so if I revealed this, and if I type in /P...
And click the Old Forest.
Click the one you're coming from.
Yeah, the non-haven site. Okay. Perfect.
Right.
So we draw based on the non-haven site. So we draw one each, and you're moving through two wilderness. So I'm going to play that as a permanent event. So this is the Nazgul that lets you bring a creature back from your discard pile to your hand.
Okay.
But I'm not going to trigger him now because that would be the end of the hazard limit, because that's the second hazard. So there's one, and then for two, I'll play the Knickerbreakers. And this is the end of my hazard. So again, you could cancel this if you wanted, or since you guys all have 4 mind, you could maybe beat this. There's no reason to not tap them each to face this.
Because I'm going to Haven.
The worst that it will do is tap them. It won't wound them. But if you tap them and roll, you can probably kill this thing for a marshalling point.
Yeah.
So here's the funny thing. The Clear Skies boosts their prowess, but the Knickerbreakers is not fighting them against their prowess. It's fighting them against their mind.
Okay. Yep.
It's basically who are the crickets driving crazy. and all it will do is it will waste their turn. They'll tap instead of wounding. But you're going to go ahead and tap them to face this, and each one of them will add their mind to the roll. And as long as you get greater than a 7 for each, you'll score the point.
Okay. So he
is a 5 versus a 7. Tap him.
And I have to tap to keep the 5. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so I go
beat a 2
versus 7. And then I roll.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I didn't press enter.
There you go. Yep. You got it. Wow. He's good.
So other locale,
down the line.
Work my way through. Tap.
So he's a 4. So he needs a 3 to tie it, a 4 to beat it. Good.
Yep.
Pippin.
Tap. He's a
4. Mm-hmm. Nice. Yep. Same roll.
Locale 8. Tap. He's a 4 versus 7. Yep.
And Tom is actually considered a character in combat. So he would need to tap, and he needs to roll a 4 versus a 7 as well.
Okay.
But you've had good luck so far. You want a 4? Got it?
Yep.
Score the point.
So score. And I update my cool.
Yes, you do. And they are back at the Haven because I have no more hazards. I'll click no hazards. I draw back up to 8. You also draw back up to 8. So discard the Old Forest.
Yep.
Now we have a movement hazard for Radagast. So I have a button that says next movement hazard. I click that. I have nothing to play on Radagast, so I'm just clicking no hazards. So you can end your movement hazard now. They can basically join up, or you can leave the 2 sites out as you want. It's up to you.
Okay, yeah. Well,
and you just breeze through the site phase to the end of turn.
Site phase.
End of turn.
End of turn phase.
And now you can discard and draw if you want.
Look what I've got here. Yep, I'll discard just to keep getting rid of these cards.
All right.
I didn't do my draw.
That's okay.
1, 2, 3,
just go ahead.
6, 7.
Yeah.
Was I allowed to draw? Was I allowed to discard there?
Yes, you were. Yes, you were. You were allowed to discard and draw there.
You can always discard.
At the end of the turn, you always are allowed to discard 1, and then you have to go to your hand size.
Yep. Okay, so just flick it to you for your discard.
All right.
And then I EOT half HL to finish the turn.
All right. So my my sad little party of 1 is actually going to see another character come into the game, which is good. So my wizard is not out, so I can still bring characters in at their home sites
Okay.
without having to have the wizard there. Once the wizard is in play, characters have to be brought into play under general influence where the wizard is, or characters
Yep.
can be brought into play under direct influence. Another character can pull a character in using
Right.
their direct influence. So she at Lorien lets me hold an extra card in my hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bump my maximum hand size up to 9. I don't automatically go to 9. I don't automatically draw cards here, but the next time I have to set my hand size, I will go to 9 instead of 8.
Yep.
Legolas
And
is going to move.
Lorien, presumably.
He's moving to Lorien, of course. He needs to team up with the other half of this great company here. All right. Movement hazard phase. We'll do Legolas first. And he's moving from Sarn Gorwing to the nearest haven. So I'm going to type /P and click on the non-haven site. You can draw 2. I can draw 2. And his hazard limit is 2.
Okay. Let me have a look. So it's
3 wilderness and a borderland. Moving to a haven.
That's 2, right. Okay, so I'll play Ambusher.
All right. So he is the only character in the company. So instead of 2 strikes at 10, he'll face 1 at 11. But do I want to? I think I want to fight that. I think he does. I'm going to tap him. Well, I'm going to face the attack. I'm going to tap him. He's a 5. The sword gives him +2. So he's a 7 versus 11. So he beats it.
Yep.
So I'll score that. One kill point. And you can play another hazard if you like.
Yep. Hit you with a Slayer.
A Slayer. All right. So he's tapped. Oh, I forgot the Clear Skies is out.
Oh. You would have been alright anyway. You only needed 5
Right,
and you got 8.
right. No, I'm just saying for this next one, he's got 2 attacks at 11 coming at him. He is tapped. He's a 4. He's a 5, 6. So he's a 6 versus 11. But that +2 takes him up to an 8 versus 11. If you'd rather not play it, you can take it back to your hand. Because
I think I'll do it because it's taking cards out.
All right. So he is an 8 versus.
I'll be discarding them anyway. Yeah. No, go ahead. I played him.
He's an 8 versus an 11. First attack, he beats it. Now the second one, he's also an 8 versus an 11. He beats that. So that actually scored me 2 points, which is great. So that is a consideration. Playing creatures that can be easily killed gives away points.
Yeah.
So there are certainly times where you'll have creatures in your hand, and if there's a strong enough company or a single character with lots of prowess boosters, like the sword and the Clear Skies, you might decide not to play creatures, even though you could. All right.
I think the mistake I made, I was thinking about that it was going to cycle cards, but because I was over my hand size, I would have been discarding those cards. I could have discarded them anyway.
Right.
It was only if I was less than my hand size, there might have been an argument.
Well, you played the ambusher and you played the slayer, so that's his hazard limit. So I'm going to go to hand size.
I just realised I haven't discarded the halfling strength either.
Oh, just drag it to the discard. Yeah, sometimes that happens a lot. You leave a card out on the table that you forgot you played earlier. As long as it doesn't need to be shuffled back into the deck, it's not really causing any problems. All right.
Click on next. Movement hazard phase.
So now we have Galadriel at Lorien, and you can play 2 hazards on her. So really nothing, no creatures are keyable to havens, but you could play like another trader, or you could play corruption on her, or you could put a Nazgul permanent event in play, anything like that.
Well, I've got a Twilight, so I'll play that.
Okay.
Oh,
you know when you should have played that? You should have played that on the clear skies before Legolas faced the Slayer. Because clear skies is an environment. Twilight can target an environment card only. So you could have knocked clear skies out to prevent it from assisting me.
Right.
And he would have had an extra 2 he had to beat because he wouldn't have the bonus from the clear skies.
Okay. And so it was going to go in my next long event phase anyway. So
correct. So
I wasn't going to get any more benefit. Yeah, so that was a mistake.
There's lots of nuances like that. You know, you think through what the sequence is, what you're going to play. Now, again, Twilight does not count against the hazard limit. So you could have played the ambusher, and then you could have played the Twilight against the clear skies and made it go away first, and then you could have played the ambusher and then the slayer, and he would have been lower prowess against all of them.
Okay.
All right.
So I've got no more hazards.
Okay. So I'm going to discard the Sarngorwing site. I'm going to move her site back to the deck so that they're together. The site phase, we're not doing anything because she is at Lorien. My hand size is 9, so I need to draw a card. Go to end of turn. Acknowledge end of turn discard. You can discard 1 and draw if you like, or you can keep what you've got.
I'll just draw. Oh, no, sorry. I would have had to discard the draw.
Discard. Right, you can discard. Go ahead. Just discard 1 card.
Gosh. And I'll discard the one I drew. Right, okay. So I click on done to say I've done my...
All right. So you've got 3 cards left in your deck. You've got 14 marshalling points. You've got your wizard at the site with the company, with all of your hobbits. You're in pretty good shape.
Okay. Are your marshalling points up to date?
I think they are. Let me see. Oh wait, no. I'm sorry. I forgot Galadriel.
Yes.
So I've got 5 character points. I've got no allies. I've got 1 item worth 2 points. I got 1 faction worth 3 points, and I've got 4 kill points.
So at the moment, if it was called, depending on what you do in your last turn, I'd be ahead by 3 with the...
Yes, correct.
With the double allied points.
But you also have a faction, so my faction doesn't double. The only thing that's going to double is your allies.
Yeah.
And we both have character points and we both have item points.
All right. So, I've got Glamdring. Oh, Festival, untap all.
So here's the trick.
Saying free up some GI.
Yes, here's the trick now. If you want to get Glamdring, it is a major item. There are no more major item sites in Tom's zone. So what I would suggest is I would leave Frodo and maybe Pippin at Rivendell. Let Radagast take Sam and Mary under his control. So organize Sam and Mary and put them under Radagast.
So why are you suggesting putting them both under Radagast?
Because Radagast has 10 direct influence. Mary and Sam only total 8. So he still has 2 free. If you're not going to a faction site, there's no reason to leave them back out under general influence. So you can always move them out next turn from under his control to free up some of his direct influence so that he could bring a faction in more easily if you have another faction.
Right. Is there any disadvantage with having the characters as followers of Radagast?
None.
Oh, right.
Actually, there is one, and it is a very unusual situation. There's a card that it's a wizard spell called the Sacrifice of Form, and the wizard basically gives up his physical being to beat a creature, and he goes away, and all of his non-item cards go away, including followers. So they would go away if he played a Sacrifice of Form. But other than that, there is no reason, there's no disadvantage to having followers under your wizard.
Okay. All right. So this is a bit of interface practice. So if I click on
Sam, click organize, and put him in the last number.
Like Harley, yep.
And then do the same for Mary.
Organize Carly 9.
And now you have Pippin and Frodo are 9 points of mind taken out of your general influence. So you have 11 free general influence. So you are perfectly safe from the Call of Home. And there's another card that targets factions in play that tries to make you discard them, and your defense is some of your general influence plus a roll. So you're fine, you're safe from all of that because you're not overextended into your general influence.
And I've used Ruin's Signal Tower and Barrow Down, so I'll go
So here's what I would
do.
You were saying what?
I was going to say when I go to the Isle of the Dead.
Perfect. So here's another reason to go there. It is an undead auto attack, and Sam has the Star Glass, and he can tap the glass to cancel an undead attack. So leave Frodo and Pippin at Rivendell. Put the Isles of the Dead in Radagast's column.
Just finding it. Isles of the Dead.
It's in the... Yeah, there you go.
Now that'll be on 9. Yep.
And now you should be organized.
Just double check. Yep. And now I haven't got any long events to go on.
So here's the thing. So what I would do is I would reveal the site for the moving company and do their movement hazard first before you do the squatters, because if you do it the other way around, I can set up some nasty hazards to hit the moving company by using the hazard phase against the squatters. I could put more creatures into play or put more permanent events into play, that sort of thing.
Yep, okay.
All right, so give me your site path.
Yep, hang on a sec. I'm going to forget that every time. So, Ruda, Cardnum, Dorian Coast.
There you go. All right, so I draw 2, you draw 1. And the other advantage of leaving Pippin and Frodo at Rivendell is Radagast, even if he moved by himself, would have a hazard limit of 2. Those 2 extra hobbits don't increase it any, because they count as 1 and he counts as 1. So he's at the minimum hazard limit. So I'm going to draw my 2. 1, 2.
And Radagast, I can draw
you
an
could
extra
draw
couple.
2 extra cards if you choose.
Yeah. Well, I think I'll do that. No reason not to.
All right, so now you have drawn your deck. So what you do immediately when the last card is drawn is you redeck. The way you do that is you type redeck.
Okay.
And what that will do is it will move your entire discard pile back to your play deck, and it will move all of your used sites back to the location deck. So now Bag End is available to you again. If you had Bill the Pony, or if you had hobbits that ran away that needed to come back into play.
All right, so I'm ready to...
So I have a hazard limit of 2 at the Isles of the Dead. And I have another Watcher in the Water. So I'll play that. So that's keyed. I'm going to key that to the... I could key that to either, really. I could key that to the wilderness or to the coast. But everybody faces 1 at 8 unless you cancel it.
Okay, let's have a look. I've got a concealment, so I might as well use that.
Go for it. Don't use Mary to do it, because you. No. I'm sorry. Don't use Sam to do it, because he'll use the Starglass to cancel the auto attack, the undead auto attack. So you can let Mary conceal.
But if I do that, I won't be able to use the talk.
Right. Well, you've got 2 options here. You've got Sam can cancel an attack, or Mary can cancel the attack. So it doesn't really matter. The Sam has a more specific canceller. He only cancels undead. Mary can cancel any attack with the torque.
Oh, okay. So I'll.
I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, I'll use the talk.
Okay. So he taps as well, and he has a corruption check, but he is fine because he's only got 1 effective point on him. So the Watcher in the Water discards, and I have nothing else. So I'm going to have to discard some cards here. 1.
So am I.
Oh no, I'll stay at 9. I only had to discard 1 because Galadriel is still at Lorien.
Now, I'm intending to call after this turn, so I won't need hazards. Oh, I will need hazards. It's resources I won't need.
Right.
Because you'll get 1 more turn, won't you? So right. I'll just get rid of... I'll get rid of resources to get back to 8. I've got 10. That's me back to 8. So I go into sight phase.
Right. Well, actually, we have a movement hazard on the other 2 hobbits at Rivendell, but that's okay. Yep. I don't have any. I have nothing to play there, so just go ahead and go to your movement hazard. Go to your sight phase. That's fine.
Okay. Yep.
So the undead attack at the Isles of the Dead can be canceled by Sam.
Tap the bearer to cancel. Yep.
Cancel an undead. That's the Starglass is great if you're moving to lots of undead auto attack sites.
Yep.
So well played.
The corruption check doesn't have to happen.
No, he's fine with corruption. He's got a +3, and the card only gives him 1. And
so now I tap Radagast.
Minor, major, or gold ring. Haha! Good. Always good to give your wizards something to fight with. You
So
score another 2 points.
End of turn phase. Oh, score. Yep, that's right. And I click on the...
Oh, no, you don't... say done.
I haven't got it done.
Oh, you don't? Yeah.
I don't score it, do I? Because he stays in my hand.
It put it. Yeah.
Out of there?
Drag it back to your hand. Drag Glamdring back to your hand, and then play it on Radagast again. And now just modify your point tally over there in the box. Change it from 2 item to 4 item.
Right.
Got it?
Yep. And now I go into end of turn phase.
Mm-hmm. And now's where you would discard a resource and draw hazards, hopefully, to hit me with.
Yep. So draw, and then acknowledge.
And I will say I'm going to discard a creature because I'm not going to get another turn to play that on you. And I say done. And then this would be where you would say you called for the free council and I get one last turn.
Okay, yep. I'll call for the free cancel.
There we go. All right.
This will be the first game I've finished.
Yeah. Ever. Well, that's good. We're a one deck game is a good place to start because you can call the council when you go through your deck once. You don't have to have a minimum number of points. So you've got, like, normally you could have called the council before you went through your deck if you had 20 points. Normally,
actually, this deck hasn't got 20 points in it.
Well, you're good. You're doing well if you've got 16. If you don't have 20 in there and you've got 16. I think I've
played everything that was in it, yeah.
Well, good.
But my thought was I will keep it as small as I can and high frequency and just hope to finish first with more.
Right.
With more points. That was the...
All right, strategy. So here's the thing. I have no marshalling point cards in my hand, so I am really just going to have to run somewhere and see what I can do. I have 19 cards left in my deck. I have 2 allies in here, so I'm going to maybe take a chance and move this company of 2 to a site where I can bring an ally in and hope I draw him. All right. So I got no rangers, so I can't play the forward in my hand.
Okay.
I'll go to movement hazard phase. I'm going to move to the Eagles area, and I'm going to type /P and click on the site. Since it's starter movement, you can draw 1. I'll draw 1. Nope, didn't draw him.
You're not restricting yourself to start a movement, are you? You just happen to be using it.
It's just because I'm moving from a haven. It's safer. Yep. It's easier to use. Sometimes you have to use starter movement if you're at a haven. Like if you want to get somewhere that's far away, like the Iron Hill Dwarf Hold is more than 4 regions away from Lorien. Normally, you're only allowed to move 4 regions in a move unless you're using starter movement. Starter movement will let you get farther than 4 regions in some cases.
Yep.
So hazard limit of 2, moving through a wilderness and a borderland to a freehold.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to give you any
kill points. Yeah, you don't want to give me kill points.
So, but you at the free council, is it all the characters have to do a corruption check?
Correct. So yes.
So I have got a corruption card, so I will play that.
Put it on Legolas.
Yep.
I've made the mistake of not transferring the dagger over to someone else.
Yeah,
he's carrying 2 items and doesn't Doesn't need them both. But now, again, he's got 5 corruption points on him.
Oh, well, I have got the corpse candle, so I mean, I could
throw it. Oh yeah, play it.
I could play it. That gives you a kill point.
Well, it gives me a kill point, but it also potentially makes me lose 4 points on him for corrupting away. He would run away with the sword.
All right, well, we'll give it a go.
All right, so before I have to face that, everybody makes a corruption check. Galadriel does not need to make one because she's not carrying anything. Legolas has a corruption check of 5. I'm going to tap Galadriel to give a +1, so it's a corruption check of 4. And he's still going to have to make another check because of the lure of nature moving through one wilderness. But first, I fight that thing, and I'm going to play some cards because I want to try to see if I can't draw. Well, I won't have enough to play to get it out to draw back up anything. But he's going to play a risky blow, and so he's pretty much automatic on that.
Yep,
so he doesn't need to tap.
2 is 7. Yep.
That is a case where you would be playing a creature for a kill point, but it has the potential to offset that by quite a bit.
Yep.
So he has no more hazards, but now he has to make a check at 5 for the one wilderness he's moving through.
Yep.
All right, so I move the Lorien back to my deck. I adjust my hand size from 9 down to 8 because Galadriel is no longer at Lorien. Now I have to go back to hand size.
So do I.
And discard that. I go to
expedience.
I go to sight phase. I have nothing to do. I go to end of turn. End of turn discard. You could discard and draw if you like. Or you can just hold on.
Is there anything I can...
If you had the Friender 3 card that I was telling you that helps give bonuses to an influence attempt or a corruption check, that might be something worth trying to draw just in case you needed to bonus yourself for corruption checks.
Yep.
But you don't. Yep. Nobody has any more corruption than their bonuses. So everybody's fine. So there's really no reason you need to do any discarding and drawing.
Yep, okay.
But what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to make another check at the Free Council with Legolas with 5 corruption points.
Still on 5, yeah.
So he's got a corruption check of 5. Ooh.
This has been vicious.
See, that's what I said. Corruption can be very, very effective. If nothing else, even if it isn't making characters corrupt away, it will slow your opponent's game down because they're wasting turns trying to get rid of it. So my character points drop down to 3. My item points drop down to 0. And that's it. Your ally points will double. So bump that up from 3 to 6.
And the items going
Your items. Ally, yeah, there you go. Items are going to go up to 8. And kill points and miscellaneous points do not double. We both got kill points. Neither one of us has miscellaneous points. But if you had one miscellaneous source and I had none, it would not double. It only works on character, ally, item, and faction. So what this means is I now hit the concede button. You beat me 23-10.
With a lot of coaching. But I'm happy with the deck that the deck worked out the way I whether it would do it very often, I don't know, but it did what I set
Yeah,
out for it to do, which
exactly.
is to cycle quickly.
Well, you want to see how a deck works
And
effectively,
slow you down.
you want to see one perform successfully, and then you can start tweaking it and deciding what you liked and what you didn't like, or what you maybe needed that wasn't in there. Um, but there you go.
Oh, very exciting.
It's fun.
Yeah, that was great.
So
You were saying about putting in one of the strong warriors, and I thought, well, that's a sensible thing to do. But I thought I'd really want to see if the hobbits can do it alone, just with a wizard turning up. And at least this time they did. Well, I don't know whether they do it on balance, but
so again, the trick with the hobbits is they've got to get the right cards at the right time. If you've got lots of cancelers in there, the cancelers are great. Or like you got the Torque of Hughes out early on, that is basically like having a free canceller every turn. And with hobbits only having a hazard limit of 2, you've got a cancel of 1 creature every turn. That really limits what I can do to you.
Yeah, okay. Pity the Torque's unique. You could have 3 of them.
No. It needs to be unique because everybody wants it, especially when you're playing a canceller, a deck with lots of cancelers, and you're trying to avoid combat instead of killing things.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
I've learned a lot.
Good. Well, I think this was a good recording too. I think we got a lot of interesting.
I think so.
Interesting combinations and commentary, and I think this would be a good one to share for people who also want to learn the game in addition to learning how to play on the interface.
Yeah, they can laugh at all my funny questions, but beginners want beginner questions, so that's
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, David.
People like Astronaut will be going, "Oh my goodness."
Well, we're playing a basic game. We're playing a starter. I mean, we're playing a 1-deck game. This is a learning experience, so I'm glad that it worked out well. That you were able to see how a Hobbit deck can successfully perform.